Summer is here, which means more ice cream coming your way. And what could be better than browned butter and lots of toasty pecans? Because today we are making a butter pecan ice cream and it is so good. Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale. Today we're making butter pecan ice cream. It's one of my favorites. It's definitely one of Joe's favorites. And it's really simple to make, but it is absolutely dynamite. If you've been here with me a long time, the base for the ice cream, you'll know it by heart because I've been making the same since I think 2011, which is very simple and you can make it a ton of different ways. So let's get started. To make it, you won't need very many things. You'll need a mixture of whole milk and heavy cream, brown sugar, butter, you'll need some egg yolks, you'll also need some vanilla, you'll also need some salt, and you'll also need some pecans. But for now, we're making the custard, and it's gonna be so good. I'm starting off with, starting off with my butter. I am gonna go ahead and actually brown my butter because I think what makes this so good is that the ice cream itself is very rich and nutty. So you're not just getting the nuttiness from the toasted pecans, but you're actually getting that delicious brown butter, sugar, caramelly flavor throughout the entire custard. That's what I think makes this so delicious. But if you don't want to do the step, you don't have to. But by browning our butter, we're sort of toasting those milk solids and it's going to transform from good to ridiculous. Which when someone says, oh, this is ridiculous, that means it's really good, at least in my experience, and it really is such a simple step, and you can brown butter to elevate anything from roasted vegetables to fish to steak to desserts. I mean, brown butter is really one of those things that if you buy butter, the brown butter is free because it's just taking you a little bit of time, but it's transforming it into something amazing. So I'm just gonna keep my eye on it. I don't wanna burn my butter, which can go from brown to burn really quickly. So don't be tempted to turn this up as high as it goes because you'll have a mess on your hands. Don't worry about my grill pan here. I'm gonna go ahead while that gets nice and toasty and I'm gonna whisk my egg yolks until they get a little lighter in color, just a very little bit, but these are our homegrown eggs and you can see the egg yolks are so rich in color. So the best. That looks so good and nutty and beautiful. We're gonna go ahead and add the brown sugar and we're just gonna cook this until the brown sugar dissolves. Now you're gonna have to just keep an eye on it because you don't want the brown sugar to melt and you're not necessarily standing here making sure it's completely smooth. You just need it to kind of break down with the butter a little bit more so it's not super grainy when we go ahead and add the milk mixture. Right, you see how smooth the brown sugar mixture is and it kind of separated from the butter. Do not worry about it. This is exactly what you're looking for. When we first added the brown sugar, it was all grainy and it was kind of dry looking, but this is what you're looking for. Now, at this point, turn your heat down to low and make sure you have a pan that's big enough so that nothing is gonna like splatter all over the place because when you add the cold cream and milk mixture to it, it will splatter. So I just do this slowly. Yep, do it slowly. It will seize up a little bit, but you have to just be patient because as soon as the heat gets there, it all turns into something absolutely phenomenal. So what I'm gonna do now, the sugar crystallizes a little bit, but don't panic, just have to have faith. I'm gonna just go ahead and cook this and just bring it to a simmer until it's sort of slightly simmering and bubbling around the edges. Do not boil this because if you boil this, it's gonna split. And we don't want that. We have the egg yolks ready. They're nice and thick. And then when we're ready, we'll move on to our next step. All right, my mixture looks great, so smooth. Remember when we added the cold cream, the sugar got really hard, and as soon as the warmth hit it, it just melts right in there. But what I wanna do now is temper my egg yolks because I don't wanna add all of the egg yolks in there right away because it could actually make them scramble. So I'm gonna temper them by adding a little bit of the hot cream mixture just to get them kind of familiar with the heat so that they're not so shocked when we add them to the pan. And I am very much not left-handed, so if I'm whisking this weird, it's because I cannot do this with my left hand, but I'm trying. A little more. It typically take about a couple of cups. And now that they're tempered and they're familiar with the heat, we're gonna add them right in here. And now we're going to cook this mixture, I would say for a good 8 to 10 minutes. And look at the color, look at that nuttiness. You can actually see the little bits of brown butter. That's all of those toasted milk solids. It's good stuff. So all I'm gonna do at this point is babysit this over low heat. Do not be tempted to crank up the heat just to get this done cool faster, because all you'll do is split this whole thing, scorch the bottom, start all over, and then you'll be mad at me. So just be patient. And when it's there, I'll show you what it looks like. My custard has thickened beautifully. I'll tell you when you know when it's ready. If you take your wooden spoon and you just run your fingers down the center and it stays separated like that, that's when you know it's ready. Now at this point, all you need to do is add a pinch of salt, which is really, really important because there's a lot of caramelly sweetness there, and you just want to balance that with a little bit of that. And a splash of vanilla, just like that. Stir it in, and I'm gonna pass this through a sieve, just because I always do in case any eggs curdled or anything like that. Just be careful when you have a pot without a real long handle. If anything curdled or anything just got a little lumpy, then it stays behind. But that is quite perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this. I'm gonna make sure that the plastic wrap is actually touching the surface of the custard so it doesn't create that weird film on top. And I'm gonna pop this into the fridge. Once it cools down a bit, I'm gonna pop it in there overnight. It's really important that this mixture has plenty of time to cool down. That looks perfect. It needs to be really cold. And this is also the perfect time for you to take your insert to your ice cream machine and pop it into the freezer overnight as well, if it requires that. All right, custard was in the fridge overnight. Now we're gonna go ahead and churn it in our ice cream machine. Now I did tell you earlier to make sure that the insert of your ice cream machine, if it needs to go in the freezer overnight, make sure you do that as well. All I'm gonna do now is add this in here. Every ice cream machine is different. Mine takes about 30 minutes, and it's a 2-quart ice cream machine. It takes about 30 minutes to churn my ice cream. So I'm gonna add that in, and then all I'm going to do in the meantime, because I know you're asking, where are the pecans? If it's butter pecan ice cream, they're right here. All I'm going to do, definitely leaving a little behind because I am a batter eater, sorry. I'm gonna chop up my pecans. I have some pecan halves here, and I'm going to toast them in a little bit of butter and a pinch of salt. So I'm not gonna need them right now, so I'm gonna get this churning and then I'll toast these in just a few seconds because they're gonna go in when the ice cream is just about ready. So let's go. My pecans are buttery and toasted to perfection. I'm gonna go ahead and hit them with a sprinkle of salt. So important because you have a lot of rich sweetness going on, that the salt will be a perfect balance. I'm just gonna take a piece here. Perfect. Ice cream just about ready. It needs like a few more minutes, which is the perfect time to add your nuts. Right in. And you can just give it a little help like that and just let everything incorporate. And then you'll be done in just a couple minutes. That's good enough. I do have to pop it into the freezer just for like an hour or so that it just sets perfectly. And you also have to keep in mind when it comes to homemade ice creams or homemade popsicles or homemade anything like that, it's really best eaten within a couple of days of you making it because there's no stabilizers in here. There's nothing in here that keeps it from getting all like icy and, like that icy texture. So it really is something that you should eat within a couple of days of making for best results. But honestly, when you're making something like this homemade, it doesn't last. I know around here it's not lasting more than tonight. This will be gone this weekend for sure. I'm trying to get it all out of the handle, but I will deal with that in just a bit. I have already tasted it and it tastes like absolute perfection. It's just like the most, you can tell by the color, it's a really like nutty, sweet, it's amazing. It's nutty and sweet. The salt is absolutely crucial because it does balance everything so beautifully. It's truly the best, and I think you're gonna really enjoy it. Go to thelaurainthekitchen.com for the written recipe. This is going to be the it ice cream for summer. This along with my chocolate popsicles, you just can't go wrong. Hope you enjoyed spending time with me, and I will see you in the next one.